Welcome, 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 welcome. I'm so excited. This is It's So Tiny. This is our first episode, my first episode of It's So Tiny. This is the painting stream where me, Daddy Louie, shows you how to paint things, miniatures, hence the name. If you are not familiar with me, I am Daddy Louie. I am a proud member of the Circle of Nerds, and this is my very first live stream of my own. So I'm also a painter for Renegade Game Studios. You may have seen me painting Power Rangers, G.I. Joes over on Renegade's Twitch, but today is all about the Daddy Louie stream. So that is what we are going to focus on today. I am over the moon excited. And because it is Revenge of the Fifth, we are going to be painting Boba Fett. Yes, not this Boba Fett. This is an Unleashed figure from the. I think these came out in like the early 2000s. But this is going to be my reference because it's big and has the colors and stuff. So I've got that next to me. But what we are actually going to be painting is a miniature Boba Fett from the game Star Wars Legion. It was an FFG game. It is now an Atomic Mass game. You can pick this up at any gaming store, online, etc. So yeah, that's what we're going to be painting. I am by no means a professional painter. I'm not a pro painter. I'm not going to be winning any contests anytime soon. What I am is a beginner painter who has evolved into I guess an intermediate painter. So we're going to be painting this Boba Fett above tabletop standards, but nothing in the way of competition standards. So enough of me chatting. Let's go down to the table and see what we're working with here. So here we have our miniature Boba Fett. You will immediately notice that he is not on the base that he came with. The base that he comes with is over here off to the side. It's right there, but I did not want to get any paint on the peg because I want the peg to stay clear so it looks like he's flying. So this is an old X-Wing peg from the game X-Wing that I didn't care about. I mounted him on here so that I could still, kind of paint him up in the way that I think they intended him to be painted, which is flying. And that's what we're working with. Before I get super started, I want to explain to you kind of what you're looking at here. So this model is a plastic model. It has to be built, so it comes in pieces and you have to glue them together and put it together and stuff. These models are not as complex as putting together, say, a Warhammer miniature, but they are pretty fun to build, and that kind of goes for all the Star Wars Legion miniatures. Once I built him and mounted him to this peg, I primed him with two different colors. So I initially primed him in all black, and then I did what's called a zenithal highlight, where I took from the top down where light would hit, and I painted it white. So this allows me to, before I start painting, see the natural highlights that are going to exist on the miniature. So if you'll notice here, on the underneath it's black, that's what I started with, and then on the top it's white, and we kind of fade in from there. So all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. I see some folks in there chatting. Doug, Anthony, thanks for joining me. We should be getting some more people in here, hopefully. And if not, then that's cool too. So the first thing that I want to do with the miniature is I want to paint his flight suit. So what I tend to do when I'm painting is I try to work from the inside out. So I do the most inner stuff first and then work outward. So his most inner parts are his flight suit, and so that's what we're going to paint first. So for that, I'm going to start with Celestial Gray. It is a Citadel, Citadel base paint. And yeah, that's what we're going to start with. I'm going to use like a medium-ish detail brush. This is an Alt Art or 8 Art brush. It looks like G has joined the chat. Welcome, G. Glad to see you here. I'm going to put a little bit of this on my palette. I do use a wet palette. I currently just have it off to the side because my desk is just not big enough. So I'm going to put some of this on my wet palette. I'm going to put a little bit of water on my wet palette too. So we're nice and thin down. This is a base paint, so it is a little thicker. And we're just going to go ahead and start hitting the flight suit. I do not need to be super careful during this part because most of the other pieces are going to be covered by other stuff. Other pink colors is what I should say. So I just want to try and get good coverage. Nothing fancy here. This is just the very beginning stages of the painting. And again, I'm just trying to get the flight suit. His flight suit is kind of like a tannish gray, I think. That's a real color, tannish gray. I'm joking. Yeah, so just getting some nice coverage on there. When you're painting this miniature, if you're following along with me, there's a few spots that look like they could possibly be a different color, and they're deceptively not a different color. So like on his flight suit, for example, he has some pouches, like on his pants and stuff. And you'd think, oh, maybe the pouches are a different color. No, they're also the same color. But there is a pouch here on his belt that is a different color. So I don't necessarily want to get that. This is a pretty straightforward miniature. There's not a lot of deviation. I mean, I guess you could paint a pink Boba Fett if you wanted to. But yeah, we're pretty much sticking to the source material here. And I should also mention that we are using the Return of the Jedi paint scheme. So in case you didn't know, little history lesson for you. Boba Fett's armor changes pretty substantially between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. In Empire Strikes Back, his backpack, for example, is green, a very similar green to his armor. And then in Return of the Jedi, his jetpack has blue on it. So that is the version of Boba Fett that we are painting, is the Return of the Jedi version. So his backpack will have some blue in it, and I'm mostly doing that because I want to experiment here with different colors and stuff. And by painting it the Return of the Jedi version of Boba Fett, it kind of allows me to do that. Otherwise, it would just be primarily all green, and that wouldn't be as exciting. So, yeah. Again, I want to welcome everybody to this world premiere first episode of It's So Tiny. We will be here most Thursdays. I won't say every Thursday because obviously, Darth real life happens, and so there may be, things that prevent me from doing that. But for the most part, this is a Thursday show, 7 p.m. Eastern, as you know, because you are watching currently. These streams will go up on YouTube a day or two after I stream them. So you can find our YouTube at Circle of Nerds. That is our YouTube page, so that's where these will live once the stream is done and I have time to render it and all that other good stuff. So Again, I'm not being super careful during this step because, um, I'm going to be going over everything else later on. I do need to put some more paint on my palette, though, really quick. So let me do that. I have a tendency, if you've ever watched any of my Renegade streams, I talk about this all the time. I have a tendency of putting too much paint on my palette. So recently I have been trying to be more conscious of how much I put on my palette. And so, there'll be times where I put just enough, but I'm still learning what just enough is. So sometimes I do have to put more on my palette, like I just did. His gloves, I think, are a different color, but I'm going to go ahead and put this color on the gloves, this celestial gray. Just for now, and if I that way it has something on there. So like I mentioned earlier, this miniature is not super complicated to paint because obviously we have a very good source material, very good references to use. The biggest challenge is going to be painting here, behind the cape, around the backpack, and around the helmet. The main thing that I did not glue his helmet down, so if I needed to, I could take the helmet off to get in spots. I don't want to if I don't have to, but I can if I need to, if that makes sense. Hey Scott, welcome to the stream. Is this one from a game? Yes. So this Boba Fett miniature is for a tabletop game called Star Wars Legion. It is a game that used to be owned. I think. So Asmodee, who is the company that kind of owns a lot of games these days, they bought out Fantasy Flight Games, and this used to be a Fantasy Flight game. And when they bought them out, they transferred the properties from Fantasy Flight to a company called Atomic Mass Games. Again, all owned by Asmodee. And when they bought them out and they transferred that game over to what was I saying? Over to Atomic Mass Games. That's who the company is that runs the game now. So, the game is Star Wars Legion. Atomic Mass Games is the company that got their start by making the Marvel Crisis Protocol game. So they have a lot of experience now with skirmish games, which is what Star Wars Legion is. So right now I'm just making sure that I have good coverage of this base coat for the flight suit, and then we're going to move on to the iconic green because we want to go ahead and make this guy start looking like Boba Fett. But again, I wanted to do the flight suit first because I want to go ahead and get work from the inside out. So now it'll be a little easier to get the armor panels and stuff. So there's that celestial gray. It's kind of hard to see on the camera because, obviously we're kind of painting like a light gray on the white, but you can kind of see it. You can see that on there. It'll be much more obvious once so that was this color, celestial gray. And now we're going to move on to the green. I've got two different greens here. I have Strachan green and I have Elysian green. There are two different green colors. Actually, there's three different green colors on this Boba Fett. His helmet is one color except for two plates on the back of his helmet, which is a different shade of green. And then his little cape thingy here is also a different kind of green. So we're going to start on the armor. I may change which greens I'm using before the stream, I kind of like decided, okay, this was the color I was going to use. So we're going to use this Strachan green first. This is going to be for the armor plates. I'm probably going to switch to a smaller brush once I get some of this on my palette and see what we're working with here. This may be too... I'm actually going to mix in some wog flesh from Citadel. It's a darker green, and that should darken down that Strachan green. The other problem with Strachan green is that it is a layer paint, so it's a little bit more transparent. So I'm going to do a 1-for-1 here. Try and get a nicer Boba Fett color. And I am going to switch to a smaller brush. So let me do that real quick. I mixed it with one size, and now I'm going to use a different size. Sorry, I don't have a camera that autofocuses, so I primarily want it to be in focus when I'm close here, but when I put it down, obviously it does get a little fuzzy. So I'm going to try and keep it in focus as much as possible here. One of the only things that's a little unfortunate about this particular model is the armor plates on his chest, like where the diamond are very, very close together. So keeping it looking like they're separated is going to be a little bit of a challenge, especially until we get a shade on there. Once we get a shade on there, it might not be too bad. But I've never painted this model before, so I'm not sure. Sometimes I do paint, the same model, like if I'm painting Space Marines or something from a game that has multiple of the same style, I guess, or the same type of miniature. But this particular thing I have not. This particular model I have not painted before. Characters I tend to not. But like for Star Wars Legion, there are different versions of certain characters, so I know there's multiple poses of Darth Vader, for example, one of which I have painted, but in future streams I may get a different version to paint on the stream, because the Darth Vader miniature was a lot of fun to paint, the first one that I painted, so maybe I will do that in a future episode. I do know what I'm going to be painting next week. I'm not going to tell you because it's going to be a surprise. But beyond next week, I don't have what I'm going to paint planned yet. So, and as a matter of fact, the miniature that I'm going to paint next week is the miniature I'm most excited about painting. The only reason I'm not painting it this week is because it simply just made more sense to paint Boba Fett, considering yesterday was Star Wars Day and today is Revenge of the Fifth. So this color is pretty perfect, actually, when looking at Boba Fett. So I'm glad I decided to mix those two together. Again, this is a 1-for-1 between Wog Flesh and Strachan Green. And it looks pretty close to my reference photo, or my reference toy that I have next to me right now, which is what I'm using to, reference what we're painting here. I always like to have reference photos up when I'm painting a canonic character of something. Because if you know me, you know that I don't usually tend to deviate from source material when it comes to painting miniatures. So, although, you know, I'll be in the middle of painting something and then somebody in the stream will be like, paint it pink. And I'm like, no, but thank you. I'm not going to do that. So far, I've done a pretty good job of not getting paint where I don't want it. There's obviously a few mistakes, but this is all. That's also not my necessarily. It's not necessarily my intention. If I screw up, I'm okay with that because I'm still doing base colors. Obviously, when I get further down the line and I'm wanting the model to be complete, maybe I will take this off to get the back plate. Yeah, let's do that. So I also did not glue down the back, as you can now see because I've taken it off. And that's to allow me to do this, which is paint this back plate. Right now I'm just holding him by the foot. I don't normally, again, that's not something I'm shooting for. I don't want to do that, but so you can kind of see there, I painted that back plate. And yeah, so these panels on the back of the helmet are a different shade of green. They do look darker, so I may just go wog flesh there. But while I have him off of the jetpack, I'm going to switch back very quickly to my celestial gray because if you notice here, this is the back of his pants, and you can see that they are black from the black primer. And so, not that this is necessarily important because it will be covered up, and so no one will see it, but I will. And I will know that it is not painted. Let's switch over here to the blaster, holding it by the blaster. Yep, there we go. That's pretty good. Right now I'm just looking for any spots I may have missed. I actually think I got pretty good coverage there. So, everybody that's watching, I hope that everyone is having a great day. And I'm curious, so we can get a little interaction with the chat here. What did everybody do for Star Wars Day yesterday? Did anyone do anything special? I'm curious to know what y'all did to celebrate Star Wars Day. I'm just going to put him down here on my paper towel while I get some more wog flesh. So I'm just going to go straight wog flesh. I'm only going to put like 2 dots on my palette because I don't need a lot of it. Yeah, so unfortunately yesterday I was very busy with family stuff, so I did not get to watch any Star Wars, which I usually like to do on Star Wars Day or anything like that. However, while I was at work, I found a playlist of all of John Williams' music from previous Star Wars movies, and so I just kind of cranked that and listened to Star Wars all day. So that was my way of celebrating. I was at work listening to Star Wars music. So you can't really see a big difference in the shades there, but I promise it exists. And it will become more apparent later as we do some some washes and stuff, some shading. You watched the Obi-Wan trailer. Yes, you watched it with me at work. Yeah, for everybody in the chat, if you've not seen the Obi-Wan trailer, don't go watch it now because I want you to stay here. But definitely watch it because it is super hype. Gets you super hyped. Super hype. Okay. So now that I've got those two greens on, I'm going to go to my last screen. I'm going to use this Elysian green. It's much more of like a lime green or a brighter green, and that's going to be for his cape. So that's what I'm using. Again, I'm going to put him down on this little paper towel off to the side, so you won't see him for a second, but he's still there. He is still there. I don't need a ton of this. I committed a sin. I did not watch Star Wars, but I did watch Star Trek. What Star Trek did you watch? I think there's a new Star Trek out today, maybe? Or did that come out yesterday? What's it called? Strange New World, I think. I think that's what it's called. But I don't remember what day it comes out. I don't know if it came out yesterday and that's what you watched, or it comes out today. Oh, season 2 of Picard. Gotcha. Yeah, so I have another friend who is a big Trekkie, who's been trying to get me into Star Trek. Star Trek is not my thing. I don't really care for the sciencey part of it. I much prefer the action and stuff of Star Wars. Every time I've tried to watch Star Trek, there's just like no action. It's all, yeah, just not very action packed. I'm sure there are some parts that are action packed, but nothing, nothing I have seen has been action packed. That's not true. I do like the Chris Pine movie, the first Chris Pine movie. I haven't seen the second one, but I've heard good things. That was pretty action packed. And if all Star Trek was like that, like all the time, I would be all about it, man. But it is not. At least not that I've seen. Why am I telling you this? Oh, because he swears to me that this new show that's coming out, Strange New World, is going to be a good starting place for non-Trekkies like me. So I don't know how true that is. I have not watched any trailers. I don't know anything about it. One of my biggest issues with Star Trek is just there's so much continuity that for a beginner who's never seen any of it or could never get into it, it's very tough to watch. Like Picard, there was so much hype behind it, and I was like, oh man, I want to be in on the hype with everybody else, but it's like I know who Picard is, again, because I've seen a few of the movies, and I don't live under a tree. Well, there are trees around my house, so maybe I do live under a tree, but you understand what I mean. So this part right here is a little challenging to get some paint in there. But yeah, Picard was, or at least it appeared, to be geared exclusively towards diehard fans and not for people like me who are just not into Star Trek. So, with all that said, like I said, a friend of mine who is a big Star Trek fan says this new show, Strange New World, is or will cater to folk like me that don't know anything about Star Trek. All right, so there's our greens. These are base color greens. That green does look significantly brighter, but I promise we will tone it down. It seems that all the new Star Trek is coming out on Paramount Plus, and I like the series, but I don't have that right now. Yeah, I think that that's true. I think it's all on Paramount Plus, which is strange because, like, when Discovery came out, or at least I think it's called Discovery, right? The newest, kind of the newest show. Wasn't that on like CBS? I don't know why I'm thinking it was on CBS. All right, I'm going to do. What color should I do next? I think I'm going to do black. So you can kind of see where we're at so far. That's kind of where we're headed. I feel like if I had something like under this, it could like keep it up and in focus, or like something to rest it on. That sounds like I said arrested. Something arrested on? I don't know. I'll find something to put that on. I don't have anything in the immediate area. Yeah, I do. I have so much crap on my desk. There we go. That kind of keeps it in focus, right? Yeah, that works. This underneath here, this is my, this is like my modeling kit. So it's got like my, see all my files and stuff like that. So when I'm building models, I dislike very much building models. And so I tend to do it like while watching TV. So I'll usually take it upstairs and watch TV with the family and all that stuff. So I'm just using straight black here. I like Vallejo's black color. I recently bought acryl or pro acryls, and I was, out of all the paints that I used from that set, black was my least favorite. So I'm just gonna stick with what I like, and that is Vallejo. And this is going to be for the visor and the blaster. To be honest, modern day Star Trek doesn't care about continuity or canon, so you could probably jump in just fine. Does that include Picard? Because, again, Picard seemed to be geared towards, you know, next-gen fans, considering all the returned characters. Like, am I still going to get excited about seeing all those characters if I don't know who they are? I guess it's kind of like, for me, it's like The Mandalorian, right? Like, I'm not big into the cartoons, so I have not really explored Clone Wars and Rebels. So, like, in The Mandalorian, when Ahsoka shows up, I'm like, I mean, I know who Ahsoka is because, again, I don't live under a rock, but being more of a fan of the movies and less a fan of the shows outside of Mandalorian, of course, I just don't care. It's not that I don't know who they are, I just don't care enough for it to have been super exciting, you know what I mean? And so that's why I guess, like, Picard and stuff like that seems to be 100% about those characters, not just, you know, cameos that drop in and it's like, oh, that's cool if you're a fan, but if you're not a fan, it's okay. You don't have to be a fan to be excited about them showing up. Like, I was excited to see Ahsoka in The Mandalorian, again, because I know who she is and I know what her involvement in the overarching story is. But I wasn't, like, freaking out the way that, say, a diehard Clone Wars fan probably did. Obviously, this is speculation since it hasn't come out yet, But I would say the Picard series is to Star Trek what the Obi-Wan series will be to Star Wars, a deep dive into fan favorite characters with a massive backstory. Yeah. I think that about 80% of the characters are new to the series. That's accurate, but there's a lot of references to the next gen. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. I need a Star Trek show that literally references no other Star Trek show. And that's where I'll start. And it needs to be newer because, man, I've tried to watch the original series and Next Generation, and they do not carry over well from when they were released, at least not in my opinion. They are rough to watch nowadays. I think in the last 2 series, there are maybe 3, possibly 4 regular reoccurring characters that tie into canon. So I like the comparison to Obi-Wan to Star Wars versus Picard to Star Trek. The difference is for me to know about Obi-Wan and really love Obi-Wan, I really only need to watch like 4 movies, right? Max. I mean, I guess 6 if you want to, talk about his Force Ghost too. Whereas with Star Trek, The Next Generation, there was how many series plus how many movies? I mean, that's a lot of backstory. Way more than Obi-Wan's. I mean, the Clone Wars cartoon kind of fixed that. But I mean, there wasn't enough. Yeah, Discovery is on my radar. It's not something that I've watched yet, but I have heard good things. That is all the black, it looks like. Let me look at my reference. It looks like his whole blaster, including, I thought maybe the hilt of the blaster. I shouldn't call it a hilt. The stock of the blaster was brown, and it is not. For Star Trek, I have seen, as far as next gen content goes, I have seen, what was the name of that movie? First Contact, and I really liked that movie a lot. Wait, was it First Contact? First Contact was about where they like went back in time, right? To where the to when like the first hyperdrive or whatever was created. And then maybe I seen the second movie too after that one. Which one was with the Borg? Is that the same movie? Or were they separate movies? I don't remember which one was the one about, like, the Borg Queen or whatever. I don't know if that was the same movie or not. It's been a long, long time. Alright, so I think we're going to go with yellow now. Okay, so the Borg movie and the Hyperdrive movie are the same movie. That's what I kind of thought. Alright, we're going to switch over to our yellows. His shoulder pads and his knee pads are yellow, as is part of his jetpack. So we're going to go ahead and start working on that. We're going to do the flames on his jetpack towards the end because I kind of have a process for fire that I want to explore on this miniature. I saw this new trick today that I want to try. Yellow can be a nightmare of a color to paint, but somebody told me, or I saw it online actually, and it is to mix a little bit of purple into your yellow, and that helps make it easier to paint. So I have a little bit of Nagrath Night, which is a GW purple, and I'm going to mix it in with my Averland Sunset, or Averland Sunset, and see if that helps with the consistency and getting good coverage. And I will tell you momentarily if what I saw was true, that it does help. Well, I can tell you that it does work. So this is a trick that I will have to make a video about. So, shameless little plug here. If you don't follow my socials, they are right there on screen. Facebook and TikTok. It doesn't show my TikTok on there, but both Facebook and TikTok is at It's So Tiny. My Instagram's on there. My YouTube's on there. So I bring that up because what I've been doing in recent weeks is creating Tuesday tip videos. They're 60-second videos, so you can watch them really quick, and they help teach you different things. So I've got a few of those out there, and I will have to make one for this. So, because this is amazing. This purple has, I mean, I just put a very small amount in there, but it has really, really helped. Like, I don't need to do multiple coats. Usually with yellow, you got to do multiple coats to get good coverage, and I'm not going to have to do that. This is just going on super nicely. So, yeah. There's a little tip for you, a little trick. You heard it here first before anybody else. Well, that's not true. I obviously heard it from someone else. I wish I could remember who it was so I could give them credit. It wasn't Sarastro, which if you don't watch Sarastro videos, he is the king of miniature painting, especially when it comes to YouTube videos. But you can see already we're starting to get that Boba Fett look going on there. So the backpack, let's see, what on the backpack is yellow. Sorry, I keep looking over at my, in case you missed it at the beginning of the stream, I've got a big Boba Fett statue sitting next to me, and that's what I'm using as a reference. Usually I use photos online, but I thought instead of flipping between 100 reference photos, which are all different because it's the internet, I would just paint this guy like the figure I've got. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Okay. That is all of the yellow. Yeah, I'm very tempted to start on the fire, and I'm not going to. Does he have yellow on his helmet? Well, he's got yellow stripes on the side of his helmet. We'll wait and do those later. So, First Contact is the first TNG movie. Or second TNG movie. What is the first TNG movie? And why can I not remember what it is? And while you guys answer that, I'm going to switch to my red. Yeah, we're going to do red next. So in my mind, corn red is a great color. I may need to add some brown to it to make it a little more maroon. But I think this is a good starting base here. So let's see. It might be too red, if that makes sense. The first was Generations. Yeah, I haven't seen that. I must have just watched First Contact. And what was the next one? Nemesis? I think I saw that one too, and that one was pretty good. Which one is the one where Data goes evil? Is that... I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm going to add a little bit of mahogany to this. This is a Pro Acryl paint. Mahogany. Let me see. Insurrection and then Nemesis. Yeah, if you can hear that vibrating noise, by the way, that is my paint mixer. I don't have any weird things going on in the background. Yeah, so a little bit of that mahogany to that corn red really added a lot. Oh man, that just poured. Look at that. All over my finger. That like poured out. I don't know why. That's weird. Okay. Crisis averted. It only got on my finger. The other day on stream, I had one of those bottles, and I opened the top, and then I shook the bottle with the top open, and red paint went everywhere. I have red paint all over my desk still. I've done the best I can to clean it up. Sorry, I knocked the camera. I did the best I could to clean it up, and that didn't work super well. So there is still some red paint in places I don't want red paint. Somebody keeps inviting me to play Minecraft. I don't want to play Minecraft. I want to paint miniatures, man. So the two primary things that are red on Boba Fett is his visor and his gauntlets. So for the sake of the visor, because the visor is going to be the tougher thing, I'm going to go ahead and do the gauntlets here. Boba Fett trivia. What was Boba's first on-screen appearance? It was the Droids movie, I think, which was a cartoon movie. It may have not been a movie. It might have been a special. Am I right? I think I'm right. Oh, really? The holiday special was before the Droids movie, huh? Or was that, it was a cartoon though, right? It may not have been Droids, but I know it was for sure a cartoon. Is that what was the cartoon inside the holiday special? I can say with 100% honesty, and I'm not even ashamed to say this, considering I am the big Star Wars fan that I am, I've never seen the holiday special. Not at least not in its entirety. I have seen clips online and stuff, but I've never like sat down and watched like the entire holiday special from beginning to end. Well, I mean, Attack of the Clones is chronologically the first time we see him. So, funny story. I'll go ahead and tell this story since we're talking about Boba Fett. So, Boba Fett, young Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones, was played by the actor Daniel Logan, who coincidentally was then hired later to voice act as Boba Fett in the Clone Wars. But originally was young Boba Fett. He was a young boy when he did it. So when I was stationed in Germany, before I joined the 501st and the Rebel Legion and got huge into costuming, I went with a group of friends to a place in Germany called Legoland. And essentially what it is like Six Flags, but it's Legos, right? So all the rides, all the attractions are Lego based, and then they have massive like things that have been built out of Legos for you to look at and take pictures with. And every year, I don't know if they still do this, but at the time, every year they had Star Wars Weekend, very similar to how Disney has Star Wars Weekends. But this was in Germany, and it was Legoland. And it was the 501st, which is a costuming organization that dresses in Star Wars costumes and goes to events like that, is invited every year because, well, it's, free people in costume to help, get guests into the amusement park. So one of my 501st friends, again, I hadn't joined the 501st. I did have a Jedi costume that I had made, a cosplay, but I wasn't in the organization yet. Anyway, he invited me to go with him, so there was a group of us that went. And at the time, every year they tried to get at least one Star Wars celebrity to come to the event. Very similar to how they get, Star Wars celebrities to go to like conventions and stuff like that. And that particular year, the celebrity that they had was Daniel Logan, who again is young Boba Fett. So my friends and I, and the other perk of going as a 501st member was the night before the first day. So Friday night, it was a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday. The Friday night before, there was like a big dinner at a beer garden in Germany right outside of Legoland. And every year the 501st would try and get the celebrity to come to the dinner so that the 501st could go ahead and get their autographs and not have to worry about it the next day and meet the celebrity and stuff. So we went to that dinner, and sure enough, Daniel Logan showed up. Now, he was not a kid at the time. He was, I would say, late teens, early 20s. And he came with his dad, who was also his manager. And they came to this dinner. So, of course, as soon as they get there, they get swarmed by people. All of the Germans in the German garrison, went to get their autographs and stuff like that. We went and got our autographs. He was super nice. And then a little while later, my friends and I, there was like 3 of us English-speaking Americans, and everybody else there was German. And a little while later, we look over, and Daniel Logan and his father are sitting there, and they look bored out of their mind. Because after the initial, hi, hello, how are you kind of thing, no one was talking to them. Because, again, these are all mostly Germans, so their English wasn't great. So after I had a couple drinks and I had that liquid courage in me, I was like, screw it, I'm going to go hang out with Daniel Logan. And so me and 2 of my friends sat for several hours at a beer garden, hanging out and talking, just shooting the shit with Daniel Logan, a.k.a. Boba Fett. And it was so much fun. And in the end, my wife wasn't with me at the time, and I called her on the phone. And while I'm on the phone with her, Daniel Logan looks over at me. He's like, give me the phone. Give me the phone. And so my wife answers the phone, and she says, hello. And he says, hello. And she says, who's this? And he was like, this is Boba Fett. And so my wife will tell you the story about the time that she talked to Boba Fett on the phone. And that is my Daniel Logan story. My Boba Fett story. And I have pictures. I have pictures of him intoxicated. He really wanted French fries with gravy, so the lady obliged and brought him French fries and gravy. I have a picture of him eating French fries, signing our autographs, just hanging out with us. And yeah, that's my good story, my good Boba Fett story. I've also had dinner with Ray Park, who is Darth Maul, and I've also had dinner with Jeremy Bulloch, who I believe is deceased now, but he played original Boba Fett in Empire and Return of the Jedi. But it wasn't as, like, exclusive. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't... Like, it was a huge restaurant, and there was a ton of people, and they didn't sit with us. So it was literally just a photo op, and that was it. So it wasn't like with Daniel Logan when we were literally talking and hanging out. That was much more of just, like... And that was here in the States. There was one event that we went to in Germany, and we were, like, handlers for a couple of celebrities, but they weren't, like, as big names as, I would consider someone like Daniel Logan to be. Except for the guy who plays General Veers. I can't remember his name. He was there. He also plays the bad guy in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And we just hung out with him. He was very quiet, though. It wasn't nothing compared to Daniel Logan. I guess that's my point. I've had other opportunities with Star Wars, quote-unquote celebrities, but the Daniel Logan one was by far the coolest experience of all of them. All right, so we got this color on, this red color. It's a great Boba Fett color for the red. I think the backpack has some red. So let's look at that and get those painted up. Anyone seeing Doctor Strange this weekend? We have our tickets for Sunday night. I'm very excited. That was a miniature that I considered painting on this stream as well. Atomic Mass has 2 Doctor Strange miniatures out. I have one of them that I've already painted. So I was going to pick up the other one and paint it. And however, I have so many miniatures right now unpainted. I figured I would get started painting something that I have, and it does correlate still with Star Wars. Star Wars Day number 2. Someone at work today was like, what'd he say to me? He said, did you celebrate Star Wars Day? And I said, yeah, and today is Revenge of the 5th. And he was like, you know what else it is? I was like, no. He was like, Cinco de Mayo. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess that is a thing. Which leads me to another funny story if you want to hear it. And if you don't want to hear it, I guess you're going to hear it anyway because I'm going to tell it. Gosh, what story was I going to tell? Oh, the Cinco de Mayo story. So, there's a restaurant not too far from here that my wife really likes. And every Tuesday night, they have trivia night. And so she's been begging me to go, right? Like, let's go. So one Tuesday, we just decided, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. So we get in the car, we get dressed up, because we don't get to go out very much. So we put on our nice clothes, if you will, and we get over there, and it was packed. And we were like, man, a lot of people come out for trivia night. And we go in, and they're like, yeah, it's like a 2-hour wait. And we were like, man, we just want to play trivia. And they were like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have come out on St. Patrick's Day. I completely forgot that it was St. Patrick's Day, the day that we decided to go. So we just got in the car and left because we were like, yeah, we're not going to fight with St. Patrick's Day people. Let's see. Red. And I'm probably going to have to redo some of this red because, you know, it's... I still have to do other colors in that area, so. It was an Irish place. It was an Irish pub. What was I thinking? I'd completely forgotten that it was St. Patrick's Day. Neither one of us really put 2 and 2 together, you know? Okay, so let's work on the backpack a little bit more. I'm going to take Boba Fett off, and we're just going to work exclusively on the backpack. So I'm going to put Boba Fett off to the side, and we are going to work on the backpack here. We might as well go ahead and do the flames while we're here. There's blue. The reason I said we're going to work on the backpack is because there's blue on the backpack, and there's not blue anywhere else. So this is a good spot for us to be for the backpack. The jetpack, I should say. Boba the Fett. His backpack's got jets. I'm going to try Calidor Sky. I don't really know. All the reference pictures are so different. Some of them, like the blue is super bright. On my model that I'm using, it's like a greenish blue, which I know is not the case. So this is where I'm going to be deviating from the mini that I've got. I shouldn't call it a mini. It's a giant statue. I'm painting the mini. Question. As a painter, do you prefer models like this that you have to put together, since that makes it easier to paint? No. Okay. So painting wise, yes. I do enjoy miniatures that come in pieces to paint. However, I despise building miniatures. I cannot stand the process of building the mini. It's just I would just much rather just get to it and get painting, you know what I mean? And sometimes, like in the case of this, now this particular model, and hands off to the folks that make the Star Wars miniatures for this game. They've done a great job making these soft plastic, what I call push fit models. So you can literally push everything together. You don't have to use glue. You saw how well my miniature was holding up, even though I had not glued it. It did a pretty good job holding together. And I like that these miniatures were very, very easy to build. This guy was very easy to build. It doesn't come on a sprue. You don't have to clip anything off. It comes in a little bag in pieces, and you just you open the bag, dump everything out, follow the instructions, glue it, slap it together, and you're done. Whereas a company like Games Workshop, or I shouldn't call it, say, the company, for games like Games Workshops, for games like Warhammer, thank you, speech, words, building the models is a nightmare. Anybody will tell you there's so many pieces, they're so small, you have to cut them off of the sprues, trim the plastic, and some people really, really like putting miniatures together. I am not one of them. I love the painting, I hate the building. If I could find somebody that would be willing to do like a trade, like you build my miniatures and I'll paint your miniatures, I think that I would do that deal in a heartbeat. You know, I just don't like building the miniatures. So my promise to you is that I will always try my hardest for these streams to have all of the models that I paint pre-built, so that I do not have to build them on stream. I will always build them off stream, because if you saw me building models on stream, A, that's not painting, and that's against what I'm advertising this stream to be, and B, you would hear me do much cussing, because I hate it. Hate, hate, hate. And I don't use the word hate lightly. So that is how much I dislike it. And I can show you, I probably won't on this stream, but next stream I'll try and have some nearby. I can show you what I mean. Like, there's just some miniatures that are, Atomic Mass Games, they're the ones that do this game now. But they make another game called Marvel Crisis Protocol. And, when this game first came out, this was a Fantasy Flight game, this one that we're painting today. So Fantasy Flight created the process of building these miniatures. So credit goes to them for that. not Atomic Mass games, because if you look at Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures from Atomic Mass games, I mean, they come in so many pieces that, like, sometimes heads are like 3 pieces just for the head. I mean, that's crazy. You imagine how tiny those heads are? It's just unfair. It's unfair, man. Alright, so we're getting close to finishing the blue. I didn't know if I was going to like this blue, but now that it's on, I do. So we're going to keep it this blue for now. Maybe we will darken and or lighten it, depending on what we decide to do. So to answer your question, Tony, I like painting miniatures like this that are separated, but if I had to build the miniatures regularly, I would much prefer a single piece miniature. For example, this miniature here is a Battletech miniature that I painted recently, and it's one piece. It just came out of the box, plastic like that, and then I painted it that way. So, okay, I need some silver. I'm gonna go with lead belcher here. I do have another silver that I'm gonna use for the battle damage on the armor. That is a brighter silver. But for now, for the other bits of the... Sorry, for some reason my wet palette is acting strange. Like the corners are curling up, and I don't know why. Alright, so a little bit of lead belcher on my palette there. Yeah, it definitely requires a certain level of patience in order to build miniatures. And not all miniatures are created equal, right? I mean, there are some miniatures that are significantly easier to put together than others. Games Workshop does have like starter miniatures that are push fit. They don't require a ton of patience or anything. They just... they come in just a couple of pieces, and you build them and you're done. But then they are also one of the worst companies when it comes to other miniatures, and they're 1 million pieces. Which, again, some people like that, right? Because it also offers a level of customization that you don't get from single sculpt, miniatures. So, like, if I wanted to change the head on... or change the arms and weapons on the Battletech miniature I just showed you, that would be much more difficult to do with a single piece than something that I had to put together. Do I bulk build? It totally depends on... Usually, like, for characters, I will just build and paint. So, like, for a game like this, right, I would... build Boba Fett, paint Boba Fett, and then build Darth Vader, paint Darth Vader. But then for, like, the Stormtroopers, where I would be batch painting them, I would build all of them at once. Same thing with, like, Space Marines. If I wanted to, paint Space Marines all the same color, I would also batch paint them all in one go. Or batch build them, I guess, all in one go. So I kind of mirror my building around my painting. The only time that that's not true is kind of with the Atomic Mass Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff, because most of the time those miniatures come 2 characters to a box, and so I will usually build like both the characters that are in that box, just because if I've already got the tools out, it's silly to, you know, do it the other way. I kind of wish that a company would release action figures that were unpainted, uncolored. So, yeah, so there is, I know that Todd McFarlane, who makes like the Spawn figures and stuff like that, he currently has a contract with Games Workshop, and you can get big statues of Space Marines that are unpainted, so that you can paint them in the color scheme of whatever your army is. And those are kind of cool. I've never bought one to paint, but you know, I'd like to. That would be very cool. But like I said, I have not yet. Yeah, there was a Kickstarter. Actually, I know that you're aware of it because you're the one that told me about it. That I backed a while ago that he did of the Spawn, like, I don't know if it was like the 30th anniversary or something. And you could get the action figure either painted or unpainted. I did back that Kickstarter, and I got it painted because I didn't feel like I could do the character justice, and Spawn is probably my favorite, like, comic book character slash superhero, kind of. He's more of an anti-hero, but he's probably my favorite. So I really wanted just the action figure. I didn't want to have to paint it and hope I didn't screw it up. Is Crisis Protocol good? The models look really cool, but I'm afraid to get into it in case the game sucks and then I end up with a ton of models. Yes, the game is very, very good. I will tell you the problem with Marvel Crisis Protocol. And it's only a problem if you view it as a problem. It's a problem for me, but other people might not think it's a problem. They release way too many characters. At one point in time, I don't know if this is still true today, but I can't imagine that it's changed much. At one point in time, they were releasing... they were releasing probably 6 to 8 characters a month. That's a lot of painting, and it's a constantly changing meta, which if you don't play with people who play the meta, it's not a problem. But that's rare to find these days. I'm getting all of my reds, oranges, and yellows out because we're about to do the fire. I know with the rise of 3D printing, people are getting into making their own statues, which is awesome, but I also love the idea of articulation. Yeah, 100%. Six to 8 characters, so 4 boxes. So they were releasing like 3 to 4 boxes a month. And when they're anywhere from $40 to $60 a box, I mean, you can do the math, right? It's not cheap. Which for me, like the money isn't super. I get for some people, like it's not about the money. Like I'm fine spending the money. The problem is like with Marvel Crisis Protocol when it first came out, it was the only game that I had fully painted. So they would release some character packs, and I would paint them all. They would release character packs, and I would paint them all. And I was buying every single one because the game was just that good, and I was that excited about the game. And then they kept going. And then during the pandemic, they stopped. They had supply chain issues like everybody else. And so like I was able to get caught up on all my painting, and then they released a backlog, and that's when I lost interest because the backlog, the things that they had released, it was just so much that I couldn't go anymore. So the last pack that I bought, so I've got the, what are they called? The Eternals? No. Who are the characters like Medusa? The girl with like the really long hair. What are those characters called? I'm blanking on what they're called. Somebody in the chat, let me know. Because I know you'll... And the big dog. Lockjaw, I think is his name. Inhumans, thank you. So they released Inhumans. They released 2 boxes, so there were 4 characters. One box was Medusa and Black something. And Black Bolt, or I don't know. I'm drawing blanks on the names. When you tell me, it'll come to me. It was Black something, I think. And Medusa, they were together. So basically like the king and the queen. Black Bolt, thank you. And then the other pack was, I believe, the daughter and Lockjaw. I can't remember the daughter's name. I think she was the daughter. But anyway. So yeah. So they released that, and I built them. Crystal, thank you. So I bought that and built that. So I have those built. They are unpainted, but they are built. And then the next release after that was Dr. Sinister. I think that's his name. Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Yeah, it was Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. And I feel like there was another pack. Yeah, so it was Mr. Sinister, Quicksilver. He was in a pack by himself. Quicksilver, because he's a big model, big base and stuff. By the way, I apologize. I'm talking and not showing you stuff. So the first I did Dorn Yellow. So I'm going from brightest to darkest. People have a tendency to do it the opposite way. But flames are brightest where it's hottest, which is coming out of the exhaust. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going brightest to lightest. Or I'm sorry, yeah, brightest to darkest. So the first was Dorn Yellow. That is my brightest yellow. And now I've moved on to Flash Gets Yellow. And then after that, I'm going to do Uriel Yellow and so on and so forth. So you can see there what we've got going on. What was the last pack? It was... Is there a character named Sin? Does that sound correct? Sin and Madam Viper, I think, is the 2 characters in the other pack. And those are the last purchases that I made. And they are literally just sitting in the box. I think they're still in the wrapper. I don't even think I've taken the wrapper out. And that's the last time I bought it, which is a shame because there's been new characters that have come out that I really like. Gambit has come out, and I haven't painted Gambit or bought Gambit yet. A lot more X-Men, Phoenix, not Phoenix. Jean Grey. The rest of the Sinister Six has come out. So most of the Sinister Six is released. Actually, I think all of them are out now. I have Green Goblin, and that's it. Did you mix purple into your yellows? No, for this particular thing, I'm not, because I want it to be a little transparent. The last coat that I did with the yellow, I didn't want it to be transparent. So far I've used Dorn yellow, Flashgitz yellow, Uriel yellow. Now I'm going on to an orange, which is Fire Dragon Bright. And I'm literally just putting a drop of these things on my palette because I'm not using very much. Is he classic Green Goblin? Yes, he is. So the trick here is I'm doing the darker color on the bottom, and I'm just kind of like moving it up so that it slightly overlaps the lighter color that I did in the previous step. You can stop there if you want. I'm going to keep going because I'm a rebel. Yep, he is a classic Green Goblin. Venom is also out, and I have painted Venom. But, like, Carnage is out, and I have not bought Carnage because, like, I'm dumb. But now that I've started, it's so tiny, and you guys are here, I'm doing, like, a little... I'm painting. I'm shaking my paint pot. I plan on getting... you know, some of those characters. I plan on painting Ninja Turtles. I plan on painting He-Man. I plan on painting Marvel. I plan on painting Warhammer. I plan on painting all kinds of stuff. So definitely keep tuning in. Game of Thrones. I plan on painting Game of Thrones. I was looking up Game of Thrones miniatures to see which ones I wanted to paint. I think Dothraki ones are going to be my my next one of my next purchases. I'll paint some D&D minis for all my RPG fans out there. I'm going to paint all kinds of stuff. So I'm glad you're here, and I hope that we can keep this going. I really, really appreciate everybody who's watching. Yeah, this is super cool. Let's see. What color do we do next? So far we've done Dorn yellow, Flashgitz yellow, Uriel yellow, Fire Dragon Bright, Troll Slayer orange. I'm going to do some Wild Rider red. Very, very small amount. Wild Rider red. This is kind of for the very tips. And then I'm going to get a little bit of black. Actually, I don't need to get any because I already have some on my palette. And I'm going to mix it in with that Wild Rider red to give just a very small amount of like a charred smoky texture here on the ends. Now, if you notice, there's a lot, it's pretty bright here on the end, and it's a lot. So I may use a, if you could only paint models for one game, what would it be? Oh, man. If I'm being totally honest, it would probably either be Star Wars Legion, even though I don't play the game, don't like the game, or, oh, you're naughty, and this is a hard question. So it'd either be Star Wars Legion, which is what we're painting now. I love the miniatures. I'm not a fan of the gameplay. And yes, I have played it, so I know. I think it has changed recently, and so I just haven't played it since it's changed. I'm going to use a little bit of a glaze. I'm going to combine Bloodletter glaze and Lamenter's yellow. I'm going to do a 1-for-1 here to just kind of tie this whole thing together. If you only have one, you could do either one, the yellow or the red. I might do more yellow than red so that I don't make it too red, because this is looking quite red. Yeah, so either Star Wars Legion, because I love Star Wars, so painting Star Wars miniatures all the time would probably not get old. And the other one would be, like Anthony just said, it would be Marvel Crisis Protocol, because there is so much variety of character currently in the game and constantly coming out. And you didn't say I had to pay for it or build them. You just said paint. So if I had to do the whole thing, pay and build, then Star Wars Legion would win it out, because they're just easier to paint and they're less expensive because they come out less frequently. So yeah, the depth of the universe is what I like about Marvel Crisis Protocol. There's just so much, and they're constantly coming out with more. And they're incredibly fun to paint. They're so much fun. I have so many painted models from the game, because it was so exciting seeing them. And for me, they just kind of ruined it a little bit with the amount that they release. So, I don't know. It's just so much to keep up with. I mean, it's like, for me, now that I'm doing these miniature streams, like, I'll totally buy some to paint on stream, because I can kind of pick and choose. But like, when you're playing the game, it feels like you can't pick or choose. It feels like you have to get everything, which just gets expensive and time consuming. But again, when I'm doing it for a live stream, I can pick and choose which characters I want to paint or which characters you want to see me paint. So yeah, that is my answer. And our jetpack is done. Look at that. I could and maybe should do a wash over it. But right now I'm not going to. We are going to move on back to Boba Fett. You know what? Before I put the jetpack back on, I am going to paint his belt, because his belt is the other thing that wraps around his back. So I need a brown What brown do I like? Dark umber? Let's go dark umber from Acryl, Pro Acryl. And his pouches are like a tan color. So I'm going to go dark umber for the belt and light umber for the other thing, the pouches. That's kind of the issue with people getting into Marvel FF, Marvel Future Fight. Every month there's new characters and uniforms, right? That's eventually why I stopped playing the game, is because it just got to be so much. It's a very difficult game to free to play because they make everything super enticing to buy. I play a game on the Switch called Pokemon Unite. And when they release new characters, which is like 2 a month, they're pretty much free. And if they're not free, they're very easy to get by playing. They don't put any of the characters behind the paywall. They just put the skins. But the skins are amazingly cool. They completely change like how the moves look and stuff like that. It doesn't change. It only changes them cosmetically, but they're really cool, which makes them super enticing. And because you're not, paying for anything else. I just noticed that he has an armor plate on his crotch that I did not paint. So I'm going to have to go back and paint that green. Luckily, I still have my paints mixed, which is why you should paint with a palette always. A wet palette. What was I saying? Yeah, so the skins are super appealing. So how do they get you? The skins are super expensive. I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you how expensive they are. So one skin in Pokemon Unite that has the... because they have skins that are more plain, that are cheaper. But if you want one of the skins that has the... the change in the way everything looks, they're like dynamic skins, I think is what they're called. They're $40 for one character skin, which is insane. It's an insane price. In my opinion, it's insane. But there are people out there that buy them. I mean, I have not... That's not true. I shouldn't tell a lie. My mom told me that I should never tell a lie. I have purchased one of the very expensive ones when it was on sale, and it's the only time that any of them have ever been on sale, and it was only the one. So pretty much everybody has it because it was like a promo that was like too hard to pass up. But yeah. They also have a battle pass that gives you some of, they also have battle passes that give you dynamic skins if you buy the battle pass and play to the end. And since I play every day, I always buy the battle pass. And the battle pass is only like $7. And each battle pass is like 2 months long. So I do have a bunch of those dynamic skins for different characters. And they're not free because you do have to buy the battle pass, but they're pretty much free because if you play every day like I do, why would you not buy the battle pass? Because you get so much more with the battle pass. Charizard and Pikachu are both in Pokemon Unite. Unfortunately, Mewtwo is not. So I'm using dark. I used Dark Umber for the belt, and I'm using what is called Light Umber for these little side pouches. And I apologize, that's not in focus. I don't have him mounted, and so it's tough to hold him close to the camera. But I'm about to remount him to the jetpack. Let me wash off my brush here. Okay. And here's his jetpack. We will remount him to his jetpack. Because I should not have to get to his back anymore. Now that he is remounted on there. Okay. So I noticed that his helmet has metal things on them. So I need to go back to my lead belcher really quick. I'm really disappointed at the moment with this wet palette. I was really, really enjoying it, and now all of a sudden, I don't know if it's just not wet enough. Maybe I need to wet it more. I always keep one of these, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, one of these squirt bottles near my desk. So if I ever need extra water in anything really, I can add water. So I'm adding a little water to my wet palette. It's just, for some reason, I don't know what the reason is, the paper is curling up on the corners. And that's where I have paint, so I don't want that to happen. I actually saw something that somebody had said about on wet palettes that you should put like pennies or a coin in each corner to keep the paper down. And I've never had to do that before, and now I'm understanding why. People do that. So I will have to get some pennies and bring them downstairs. The latest cash grab on Marvel Future Fight is artifacts. Each character has a unique one that you can get, and they grant the character a special ability. So far, none of them have been character defining, but if you want to be the best, you need them. And unless you open your wallet, getting them is purely RNG. Yeah, the RNG stuff is rough. Luckily, there is no RNG stuff in Pokemon Unite. It's all, like, if you pay for it, you get it. You know, there's no, like, at least not yet, there's no, like, loot boxes where you open it and get something random and hope that you get the thing that you want. Hopefully it stays that way. But time will tell, I guess. The game isn't a year old yet, so. Okay, I need to go back to that armor plate on the crotch. So let's do that real quick. I got a tiny bit on the belt, so I need to fix that. If you don't know, if we're looking at $50 easily. Oof. So when you say special ability, obviously you know I've played the game before because you got me into it for a little while. Um, so when you say ability, is it like something you trigger and it happens in the game, or is it like a passive ability that just adds something to the character? I'm curious. Like what kind of ability you mean? So Boba Fett also has some Wookiee braids wrapped around his arm. One is brown and the other one is like a blonde color. So for the brown, I think I'm just going to use the same brown as the pouches on the side. I play Marvel Strike Force every day, and it's mostly free to play. They did start putting 90% of their costumes behind a paywall, though, and do nothing apart from change the skin, but they look so good. Been tempted, yeah. I mean, as long as the skins aren't $40 like in Pokemon Unite. The miniature only actually has one Wookiee braid, but on this figure I have next to me, he has two. So that's interesting. I may just... I guess there is another one there. It's just smaller. Mostly passive abilities. Yeah, so that would be easy for me to ignore. If it was like a cool ability that like did something on the screen, that's when I get to be like, okay, that's super cool, and now I want to be able to do that. I'm grabbing Ivory from Pro Acryl for that blonde Wookiee braid that is very minimal on the model. I've made a huge mess on my desk. There's so many colors out. It's gonna take me. I'm just gonna leave it and then clean it up tomorrow when I'm done. That's the thing with painting on stream. It's like you make a big mess, and then when the stream's over with, you just want to like go to bed and shut your brain off. You don't want to clean up forever. He also has a little exhaust tube. How have you been liking the Pro Acryl paints so far? I gotta be honest with you, I like them a lot. There is one color that I don't like, and that's black, which I think I mentioned already. So I have not been using the black. Um, the miniature that I had painted the day I got them was Ranger Slayer from Renegade, and I did not like the way the black turned out on that miniature. So I've just kind of put it away because I don't want to be tempted to use it. And I've been using um, just my Vallejo, which is kind of my go-to. Okay, yep. So we're going to do the boots next. If you are not familiar with the way I paint, for those that are out there watching, my favorite paint color is German gray from Vallejo. It is a very dark gray, very close to black, but not quite black. And this is just my favorite color. And because it is my favorite color, I try to put it on every miniature that I paint. And so for today's miniature, I will be putting German gray on his boots. So I'll be painting his boots in German gray. I will also be painting the antenna on his helmet German gray as well. So you're getting German gray in two places. Some people say I am the German gray Jedi. Other people say I am the German gray Power Ranger. Yeah, it's just a paint color that I've been painting with for a long, long time. One of the very first things that I kind of determined as a personal preference is when painting things that are black. I find it difficult to highlight black if you start with black, because there's no color blacker than black, just like there's no color whiter than white. And so painting with black, I tend to always use German gray as a base, and then shade it, and then highlight it back up. And again, personal preference. I won't say many, but a few people I know that have followed me painting have started doing the same and have had similar success. So I guess it works. Now those boots are definitely darker than the miniature, or the character, but that's okay because I am going to lighten it up. are you doing anything with the base, or is it more a holder base? Yeah. So that was something I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. So if you're just joining or missed the beginning, so this is not the base he comes on. This is the base he comes on. But because I did not want the peg to get paint on it when I was priming or painting, I have gotten a old X-Wing peg that I didn't care about. I glued the whole thing together so that it was nice and sturdy, and then I'm using that. So when he is done, I will be making this base a dynamic base, so I'm going to put some rocks and stuff on it. And then when it's all said and done, I will take him off of this and put him onto that. So at this point, the model is pretty much done for what I would consider to be a tabletop standard. All the base colors are on. He looks like Boba Fett. So if it looks like Boba Fett and it talks like Boba Fett, it's probably Boba Fett. It does smell like Boba Fett. But all of that said, if you know me, then you know we're not done. Because I like to go a step further. So right now, this is what I would call tabletop standard, right? So if you don't care how detailed your miniature is, this is kind of where you stop, right? You got the base colors on, looks like Boba Fett. People will know it's Boba Fett, and so, under 2 hours, you got the model done. You could do it much faster than that if you didn't go like crazy on the flames and all that stuff. However, I'm going to take it to the next level of the tabletop standard, that intermediate level that I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. Because if we were painting on, say, Renegade stream, which, if you've seen me on there, then you know exactly what I'm about to tell you. Right now is about when we would be done with that stream, because I'm only allowed to stream there for 2 hours. So this is pretty good for 2 hours. But because this is my stream, I'm going to go a little longer, and we're going to do some next level stuff. So I have a dry palette here. So this palette that I've got, this new wet palette that I'm using, is pretty sweet because, let me switch over. Hold on. Hi. So I'm going to show you this palette, right? So this dry palette goes on top of the wet palette, and then there's a lid that goes on top of that, and then there's a strap that goes over the whole thing. So I like that this has this, extra dry palette. So dry palette. I have my wash brush here. We are going to do we're going to water down a wash. I don't ever do this, hardly ever do this, but I do not want my wash to be overpowering. So, this is Nuln Oil. This is a black wash. I'm going to put about 4 scoops in there. I'm going to kind of clean my brush off, but not too much because I don't really care. Now I'm going to get this contrast medium, which is going to allow me to water down this black wash. That's awfully cloudy. Maybe that's what I want. Okay. And now I'm going to put this over most of the miniature. This provides shading where I want shading. And the reason that I watered it down is because that black Nuln Oil is very powerful. It's very strong. It's a strong color, and so it tends to what is called staining. It tends to stain parts that you don't want stained. And I said most of the miniature. I wasn't going to do the cape in this color, but I kind of like the way that it's coming on, so I am just going to do the cape as well. What I want to avoid, if at all possible, is the flames. I guess I can move this out of the way now that I've showed you how to make it. I do want to get the backpack, but I don't want to get the fire because I really like the color that it is, and I don't want to have to change that or redo it. You can get away with a much smaller brush, and you probably should use a smaller brush than what I'm using, but I'm a rebel today. Am I? Or am I a bounty hunter? It looks like it's pooling on the pouches. Yep. So when I'm done slapping it on there, I will go through with a different brush, a cleaner brush, and I will pick up the pooling that it's causing in spots that it's causing it. Now this does take a minute to dry, and so while we are letting that dry, we will move on to the base. That is one nice thing about painting him off the base, is I can do the base at the same time as the model is drying. So you can already see that it's creating shadows where I want shadows, but it's not staining the miniature the way that a normal coat of Nuln Oil will, because I watered it down with a contrast medium. If you don't have a contrast medium, I don't even know if doing the contrast medium is necessarily the right move. You probably want to use a wash medium, but my wash medium is not next to me, and rather than stop what I'm in the middle of doing. Cool. All right, so I'm going to put him off to the side, let him dry. When it comes to a dry palette mess like this, you got two options. You can either clean it out, well, three options. Clean it out immediately, clean it out later, or don't clean it out. I typically tend to not clean it out. If you look at my other dry palettes, which I've used in the past, they are full of grossness. And I don't want this to get like that. So I just got a paper towel, and it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be... $2 a.m. Yeah, go to bed, man. Get some sleep. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you later. For those that don't know, G is my friend in Wales, so it's 2 a.m. there, and dedication. He's here with us. Okay, so base. Let me get some. We need some Elmer's glue. And we need some rocks. I have some slates. Maybe I'll try and use a slate. No, that base is small. I forget that Star Wars Legion uses small bases. So this is what I'm going to be using here, okay? So I'm going to use Elmer's glue. I have these Army Painter Battle Tufts, Battle XP. This is the Highland Tufts. I need to get some more different ones because I only have those. I have some rocks, and I have some sand in here. And I'm also going to need super glue. You don't have to use super glue, but because of we're going to be doing this all in one shot and not letting stuff dry overnight, if you have the time and the capacity to let stuff dry overnight, please, please, please do that. The only reason I'm not doing that is because I want to get the whole miniature done in one go. So do as I say, not as I do. So the super glue is to take the bigger rocks and get them glued onto the base. So I'm going to use a couple of big rocks. So I'm trying to get this in shot there. So what I'm doing right now is basically I'm looking for where I want these rocks to go. And I don't want too many, but I want enough. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So I basically am laying it out without glue to see how it looks. So that's how it looks. So I have some tweezers somewhere. Where are they at? Here they are. Tweezers are the best way to do it, so that way you don't get super glue on your fingers. And I'm going to take my my super glue, and I'm going to put it where I want rock number 1 to go. So rock number 1 is going to go here. That's a lot of super glue, Louie. Holy moly. And I don't need the tweezers for this one because it's quite a large rock. I'm going to put it there and press it down lightly. And then I want the other rock to go over there. And this one I will use tweezers. I'll put it there. Super glue dries pretty quick, so I'm not super worried about that. I'm going to put my super glue aside for now. We are going to need it in a minute, but I don't need it right now. I'm also going to take my big rocks that I have here and put those away because we don't need those anymore either. The next part is the hardest part, which is the sand. There's two different ways that you can do this. You can do straight Elmer's glue, or you can do Elmer's glue in water. The problem with Elmer's glue in water is that it takes a little bit longer for it to dry. The problem with not using water is it's significantly harder to move around the miniature base, right? So I actually have this stuff here called Army Painter Magic Super Glue Activator. I call this Magic Spray. And I can't really do it under the camera, but these things are super glued. And instead of waiting for the super glue to dry, here, I'll just do this in the face cam. There we go. Oh, that's not right. Wrong one. There we go. That was from my Renegades stream the other day. So you can see here, this is drying. Here's my spray. All I have to do is one spray on one side, one spray on the other side, and in about 5 seconds, that super glue that I just sprayed on there is going to be completely hardened, and I don't need to worry about that. So those rocks aren't going anywhere now. The bad part about that spray, because you're probably asking, well, why doesn't everybody use that spray? Well, if you screw up and you need to remove said rocks, good luck. Okay, so I am going to do the... oh, I guess I got to go back down to the table. Huh? That would help. All right, so while that dries for a quick second, I'm going to go back down here. I'm going to put some glue right there in my little dry palette. I am still using this one for the glue because it messes it up. I have a plastic brush with plastic bristles that I use for this, so that way I don't have to ruin one of my other brushes. I'm not going to use a ton of water. A little bit, maybe a little bit more. There we go. And again, the reason that I use water is so that it helps me be able to brush the glue on. If I just use straight glue, it would be hard to do. I'm going to put a little more glue in there because it was a little too watery. You don't want it too watery because then it will take forever to dry. And because we're doing this streaming thing, we don't want things to take forever to dry. The one thing that I do want to do is make sure that no glue is on the rim, because when we dunk it in our batch of rocks or sand, I don't want glue on the sides. So we've got our glue on there. I've got my rocks, my sand. I'm going to sprinkle it on there at first, and then I could just go ahead and dunk it in there. And I'm going to let it sit for a minute and kind of attach to that glue. I'm going to put it off to the side. Hopefully it doesn't spill. I'm going to clean off this brush because I like this brush. You probably shouldn't rinse off the glue brush in your paint water, but I have not been mixing paint with water tonight, so I'm going to take the risk. All right, so letting that dry, let's go back to Mr. Fett. Oh yeah, so you can see the colors have darkened, but we've also created some really nice shade. So now all we have to do is lighten those colors back up, and we'll be G to G, good to go. So I'm going to grab some of my green, and kind of go over some of that green. Staying away from the recesses, so that way that stuff still stays in there. Move this up a little bit, a little closer to me. Now that we're at this stage, I don't want to make any mistakes because it'll be a little harder to fix. Of course, mistakes happen. As Elmo would say, accidents happen, and that's okay. But if I can avoid them, I'd like to. So the only thing I'm super not happy with is shade did not get really well in this part of the diamond, on the right part of the diamond. So when you look close at it, it still looks like that diamond is connected to that, and I don't like that. So what I can do is get a very small amount of Nuln Oil on a very small detail brush and force it in there, which is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to water this down because yeah, see how much better that is automatically. I really want that definition in there. I want you to be able to tell the difference in the from each side of the plates and stuff. All right, so we're going to do some more highlighting on that green in a minute. Going to get a little bit of our wog flesh, which was just that darker green for the back here. right. Now we're going to go, again, right now we're just reapplying some of our base colors to lighten up some of the things that were darkened. So I'm going to grab some of my Elysian green, which is what we used for the cape. And I'm going to highlight those spots back up. I need a good book recommendation. Anybody out there got a good book recommendation? I like young adult books. I'm currently reading Harry Potter, but I'm literally like I'm finishing. I may finish the last book tonight. I'm like 95% done according to my Kindle, and after that, I will have nothing to read. So if anyone has any recommendations along the same line as like a Harry Potter book, doesn't have to be about wizards and magic and stuff, but something along that. Did you read Ready Player One? I did not. I have seen the movie. I don't know how different the movie is from the book, but I have not read the book, just seen the movie. And I really enjoyed the movie. If the movie deviates a lot from the book, then I'd probably be interested in reading it. Like the Harry Potter books are very similar, but there's enough difference and detail in the books that makes it exciting to read. And it's a really easy read, you know what I mean? I'm not much of a reader, so I definitely need easy reads. Because more complex reads, like somebody said, oh, read Wheel of Time, or, I don't remember some of their other recommendations, but it was like, yeah, if I don't know that I would ever want to read Wheel of Time, because I've just heard it's like a nightmare to read. There are some plot differences. I prefer the book to the movie. I'll have to look into it then. If it's an easy read, then that's because I really did enjoy the movie. So if you're telling me that the book is even better, then I would probably enjoy it. Yeah, so that's just some Averland Sunset on there with that purple, brightening it up, but not going all the way. So you can see like the little armor dent there. I need to move some of this stuff out of the way. I've just literally gone crazy. I also really like that whole magic fantasy thing. Again, it doesn't have to be wizards, but I'm just like really big into fantasy at the moment. Like I would love to read the Witcher books, but again, I've heard that those are complex and don't make sense sometimes, and they're just not easy reads. because I'm like huge into The Witcher right now because of the show. I just really like the show, but I've heard the books are tough. So unless I say otherwise, these colors that I'm using are just the original colors. I'm just brightening them up. So that's the reason why I'm not really saying what I'm using, because I've already mentioned it. And I don't want to be super repetitive. If you would like to, if you don't remember or you'd like to re-know, just let me know. And I can drop that. I can let you know. The King Arthur trilogy. I did read the Hunger Games books. At least the first two, for sure. I can't remember if I ever read the last one or not. But I kind of enjoyed it. That's one of those things where, like, the movies, the movies were pretty good, so it's like hard to. I mean, the Harry Potter movies were good too. I just really wanted to get back into reading, so I was looking for an easy read, and everybody just recommended the heck out of Harry Potter for an easy read, so that's why I ended up reading Harry Potter. I'm gonna grab some Celestial Gray because that part of my palette has dried up because of my lack of pennies in the corner, which is going to be a staple for me starting tomorrow, because that was super disappointing. Have you ever read any of the Percy Jackson books? I've heard good things, but this is still that celestial gray, and I realize I'm using it for the green, but it works really well. I don't want to go too crazy with that, so... No, I thought the movie was terrible. I mean, maybe not terrible. Terrible might not be the right word, but it was not great. If you know what I mean. What about the Maze Runner series? I've heard good things about that as well. And the first Maze Runner, I haven't seen the other ones, but the first Maze Runner movie I thought was excellent. I just don't know much about the books. But I did quite enjoy, like I said, the movies. Movie, because I haven't seen the other ones. If there is more than one. I know there's at least one. I think you would really enjoy the movie. At least I thought it was great. All right, now I'm going to start diving into the greens a little bit more. I want to create more brightness, I think. So initially we had mixed together the Strachan green with the wog flesh. I'm going to add a little more Strachan green into that mixture that I had, and then we might go straight Strachan green. The idea here is to reapply this color to like 90% of where the other color was, coming just short of the edges. So if you notice here, I'm not pushing it all the way down to the red rim. I'm just focusing here on the top of the head. I'm also doing the underparts here of the helmet. I'm just looking for where light would hit, and that's basically what I'm trying to do. Yes, I've read Ender's Game, and I loved that book. I don't read a lot of books, so, but that is one that I have read all the way through. I've also read like Dan Brown's first 4 books. I really liked those a lot. Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons. Can't remember the names of the other ones. Yeah, I haven't read any of the other Ender's Games books. Which is odd because I seem to remember the first Ender's Game kind of like ending on a cliffhanger. If I remember correctly, anyway. If you liked Ender's Game, I would highly recommend Stranger in a Strange Land. It's the same author who did Starship Troopers. And you said it's a pretty easy read? Is it sci-fi, fantasy? What kind of genre would you say it is? And not adult as in inappropriate for children. Sci-fi. Have you read any Philip K. Dick? I don't know how much you are into sci-fi books. Android Dream of Electric Sheep is the book Blade Runner is based on. So, I've actually never seen Blade Runner. Oh man, I'm a horrible, horrible nerd. Never seen Blade Runner. That's one of those movies that gets me flack from people. You've never seen Blade Runner? And then I tell them what I'm about to tell you guys, and then everybody really goes crazy on me. I've never seen... Oof, this is going to get me in trouble. I've never seen Die Hard. No, I've never seen... That's not true. I have seen I saw the one that came out with the dude who was in... What is his name? He was in Batman. The last Batman movie. Not the newest Batman movie. The Chris Nolan's last Batman movie. The guy who played Robin. What is his name? It's like a 3-part name. Something Lewis or something like that. There was a Die Hard movie. That had him in it. It was like a newer Die Hard movie. Live Free or Die Hard, I think, is what it was called. I did see that one. But no, I've never seen the original Die Hard, Die Hard 2, Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance, whatever they're all called. Like I said, I know I'm a horrible, horrible nerd. Not that Die Hard is a nerdy movie, but I know I always get flack for it. Yeah, that's not the same guy. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is not in Die Hard with a Vengeance? Or Die Hard, whatever that Die Hard movie is I said. Live Free or Die Hard? I thought he was. I don't know who Justin Long is, but I'll take your word for it. Do they look similar? Why am I thinking that he was in that movie? So, since we've gotten completely off track, I will tell you what I'm doing. Right now I'm blending my greens together, trying to create this bright green on top, where the sun would hit it. Dude, you're getting Adele. I don't know what that is either. Man. Never seen that either. Have you seen all these movies, or are you just looking it up? Because I feel dumb if you've seen all these movies and I've never even heard of them. Either that or you just watch a lot more movies than I do. Anyone else in the chat ever heard of any of these movies? Or am I just am I that behind on the times? Scott, my wife, said that she saw you at the BX today. That's way too... Nice. For reals are the best. They have them over at the new little shop at area. I think I've only been in that little shop, that new shop at once. And it was to get down east when it was fall, because I really like the down east pumpkin beer, and they had no down east at all, and I've not been back. It's not in a convenient location to where we work anymore like it used to be. Before, I used to go to the shop at all the time. I'm getting close to the end here, folks. Getting close to a pretty good... look. Oh yeah, we did watch Gremlins, didn't we? All right, so the last and most important thing when it comes to Boba Fett is, man, I want to do so much more with that cape too. Let me see if I can do something with that real quick. I still can't believe you hadn't seen Spaceballs. Nope, I had not. I have now. But up until last year, I had not seen Spaceballs. And I gotta say, as an adult, I mean, I could see the appeal of when it came out, it being funny, but now it didn't do anything for me. There were like 2 parts that I enjoyed, like 2 one-liners, and that was about it. Maybe I'm weird. Same thing with Big Trouble in Little China. I hadn't seen Big Trouble in Little China until about, I don't know, 2 years ago, give or take. And when the movie was over with, I was like, what in God's creation did I just watch? Because that movie was awful. Well, now those are some fighting words. I don't know how anybody couldn't like The Princess Bride. I think The Princess Bride is like the perfect movie. So now that I've done what I did with the capes, that I said when I said I was done, and then I decided to not be done. The last thing that I'm gonna do Okay, the second to last thing I'm gonna do, because I'm adding some small details to these pouches. This is super not necessary, but okay. For real now, I'm gonna stop. See, this is my problem when I'm not restricted to a time limit, like when I'm painting on Renegade, and this stream has gone way past where I wanted it to go. I was shooting for 3 hours. We're now at 3:10, so yeah. But it's my stream, so that's okay. All right, last thing, most important thing when it comes to Boba Fett is his battle damage. Now, he is a tiny miniature, and getting all of the battle damage on the entire miniature is going to be very tough. So, I'm going to use this Pro Acryl Silver. Shoot. See, I did it again, guys. It was open. Why was it open? It just splatters paint everywhere. Okay. I hope I didn't get it on my brand new shirt. Although it's acrylic paint, which is water-based, right? So it should come out? Probably not, but... Alright, so I'm going to put some of this silver on my palette. It was open, so yay me. I'm going to actually close it this time, so that it's not open next time. Yeah, Tuesday tip, close your pots. So I got my sharp tip brush. I have this silver, and I'm looking at my reference model, and I'm going to do at least the big pieces that are iconic, right? So he has this divot in his helmet. He's also got holes in his chest. Well, not holes, but dents in his chest. So I'm going to make sure that I get those. And for this step, I'm doing stippling. So I'm just little dots. Because we want it to look like it's real battle damage. So you need very little paint on your paintbrush to do this. And my action figure over here probably doesn't have all of the damage on it either, so... And in this case, because the miniature is so small, we don't need a ton. I want to make sure that we get the backpack too, because the backpack would be damaged. And the gauntlets too. They would also be damaged. Now I'm not even really looking at my model or my reference, because at this point, like I said, less is more, and there's more on the model, or I keep calling it a model. You know what I mean. Less on the toy than will be on the helmet, or than will be on the actual character on the show. Movie. Gosh, I can't talk today. Words. It's late. Again, the most iconic thing is that dent in his helmet, so that's really the most important thing. That's too much. There's just one silver mark I don't like, and I'm going to fix it with some of my green. And one red spot I don't really like either. So we're going to fix that with our red. I said I was done and I lied. He has this little comms thing on his chest that is red. And on the side of his helmet, he has yellow stripes. That's going to be really, really hard to freehand. And he has way more than I'm actually going to put on his helmet. All right, I'm going to call him done before I end up making it worse. I could literally sit here for another hour, adding battle damage, highlighting his belt, his armor, and stuff like that. But I believe this is better than a tabletop standard, but not, by no means am I going to win a contest or anything like that with it. But it's pretty darn good. So, last thing that we need to do, I keep saying last thing as if it's really the last thing, is grab our base. Hopefully this glue has dried. And if it hasn't dried, at least hopefully it's close to drying. So that we can do some other exciting stuff with it. So I want to add some tufts. Tufts are like the little grass thingies. And so I have a few of those handy. We need our pliers and our super glue because we're going to super glue those on. So here's our tufts. I know it's a little blurry, but that's because I'm going to bring it up to the camera. So you grab it with the pliers, not the pliers, the tweezers. Put a dab of super glue on the back. That's way more than a dab. Holy smokes. And then we look at our base and we decide where we want it to go. So I want one to go right here to cover up some of this peg. I also want to put one there to cover up that white spot, which is where that that activator, that magic spray, kind of like glued to the thing. Ooh. I dropped it, but luckily I dropped it on the back side. And then I want to put that there, glue it down. And just like that, that base is done. Yeah. So you can kind of see some gaps in the rocks where it looks a little bare. If I had more time, I would probably do another once the glue is definitely dry, like tomorrow. Actually, it's kind of dry now. Oh, should I do it? No, I'm not gonna do it. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I don't want to mess it up anymore. Sometimes when you're a perfectionist like me and you just keep doing something over and over again, you end up making it worse than you had originally intended. So I'm going to add my base back onto this thing here, which is what I originally had it on. And now, for the grand finale, we are going to take Boba Fett off of this peg. Oh, man. Hold on, I may not be able to do this on camera. Why is it not coming out? Well, that's interesting. Well, you're about to see what happens when you break a peg off inside the peg hole. So that's fun. I do have a drill. I could drill it out, which we may have to do. Hold on. I was like, where's my drill? He was like, oh, it's right in front of my face. It's just a little hand drill. Okay. May have to glue him in instead of just sliding it on. But that's okay. Yeah, I'm going to use a dab of glue. First of all, let's get our glue. A very small dab, hopefully. That's good. So what do you guys think, for those of you that are still in chat, what do you guys think of the black rim? Should I paint the rim brown or should I leave it black? So, for example, this has that brown rim, as does this, which I quite like. But the black is fine too. Leave it black. Okay. Black it shall stay. And that is the finished product, guys. That is Boba Fett from Star Wars Legion. We're clocking in at 3 hours and 20. I'm going to say 3 hours and 20 minutes because I did like the intro and stuff. This is a fully detailed paint job. It's not a pro paint job, but it's definitely, at least intermediate, I would say, maybe slightly better than that. We did lots of detail. Could we have done more? Sure. But the episode would have gone significantly longer. And overall, I think it's a really, really good paint job. We have highlights and stuff on top. And he looks super cool. So let me go to my face thingy. All right. So I want to thank everybody that showed up. I think we had up to 10 viewers at one point in time, which is excellent for our first episode. We're going to be doing this every Thursday, 7 p.m. here on twitch.tv/Circle of Nerds. Again, this is It's So Tiny, my miniature painting show. Please go and follow, subscribe to all of the socials on Facebook and on TikTok. I am at It's So Tiny. On Instagram, it's at The Real Daddy Louie. Unfortunately, It's So Tiny is already taken by some lady who in 2013 was taking pictures of little tiny things. And she hasn't posted in 9 years, but she took the name, and there's nothing I can do about it. So at The Real Daddy Louie on Instagram. Our YouTube is youtube.com/Circle of Nerds. We have a website, circleofnerds.com. We also have all of the Facebook groups and all that good stuff. So follow my socials for I'll be posting final photos of this. I'll be doing a TikTok of this. And what else was I going to say? And I'll be doing teasers for what we're going to paint next week. So I appreciate you. I love you. Make sure you take care of yourself, take care of others, play your games, paint your miniatures, and let's roll that outro.
It's so tiny.